Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Camden and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review of our 1-1 draw against Tottenham Hotspur yesterday at Goodison Park. Not the greatest game of football, listen, it was, I'd say, pretty much an all-round poor game of football from both sides. Obviously, there was big topics to talk about. Andre Gomez's injury being the biggest one, which we'll speak about in just a second. VAR as well, that the standard of refereeing, not just yesterday, but in this league overall. But overall, without all of that, extra bits and bobs that happened, I think just talking about the game in itself, I think it was quite a poor game. I think it was two average sides performing poorly, in a Premier League game, and I think that's the best way to describe it. Tottenham didn't really pose an awful lot of threat throughout the entire game. They only had one real big opportunity, and they put the ball in the back of the net from it, and that was due to a really big mistake by Alex Iwobi. And we didn't have an awful lot going forward either. We struggled massively to create anything. Obviously, Marco Silva going with what we all thought was a decent starting 11, a 4-3-3 formation, a really exciting front three, a really exciting midfield three. But again, similar to the Watford game in midweek, we just struggled to put our foot on the ball. We struggled to control the game. We struggled to do anything sort of creative with the ball when we had it. And I think Spurs were quite similar. And I think overall that made it quite a poor game of football. Before we go into anything, before we talk about any of the talking points, I think it's only right that we start with Andre Gomes. Obviously, if you're not aware, which I'm sure 100% of you are aware, Andre Gomes suffered a shocking injury yesterday in the game due to an awful challenge, it can only be said, by Son and Serge Aurier, both coming into him, and he actually suffered a fractured dislocation in his right ankle. So we'll go straight into talking about that, because there has been an update from the football club. There's been multiple updates from Everton, Everton have been really good in communicating his progress in terms of the injury. So the latest one, which was around about an hour ago, I'll read the full statement out so none of it gets mixed up in communication. Everton have said that Everton Football Club can confirm Andre Gomes underwent surgery to repair a fractured dislocation to his right ankle earlier today, and the procedure went extremely well. Andre will now spend some time recovering in hospital before returning to USM Finch Farm to start his rehabilitation under the guidance of the club's medical staff. He is expected to make a full recovery, which is obviously fantastic news. On behalf of Andre, the club would like to thank all Everton supporters and members of the wider football family for their overwhelming messages of support we have received since yesterday's match. So obviously Gomes receiving a lot of support, not just from Evertonians but from the wider football community as well, which is obviously really nice to see for such a horrific injury that we witnessed yesterday. It was absolutely terrible, and we'll go into talking a little bit more about it later on in the stream. We'll talk a little bit more about Son's involvement, because I went a little bit harsh in on him on I don't think I did go harsh in on him, to be honest with you. I think he went in with malice to make a challenge. Now obviously I don't think he meant to fracture his ankle. I don't think he meant to do any serious damage anywhere near the seriousness that he did, but he definitely went in with a malice challenge to hurt Andre Gomes, because it was a revenge challenge, because he had the ball taken off him. But anyway, regardless of all that, that's all irrelevant. What's happened there is a really decent footballer, a really nice lad, is had a possible career-ending injury there. Now obviously it's fantastic to hear that he's going to make a full recovery, and that the surgery went extremely well, and it couldn't have gone better. And it's quite refreshing to hear that it's a fractured dislocation as well, because at first sight it did look like it could be a straight break, which obviously it'd have been a little bit longer for him to wait out. So absolutely terrible news, terrible to see, awful to see live as well, and shocking for the player himself. Just starting to find his feet at Everton Football Club again. Really good footballer, and now Everton have lost our most creative midfield player, I'd say, and he's going to be out for quite some time. There's not been a time scale for the injury yet, and there probably won't be one for quite some time either, because it's just about getting Andre Gomes back to his family and back to Finch Farm, and starting the rehabilitation process, and starting the process of obviously of getting rid of that shocking injury. But I'd hazard to guess it's going to be for quite a while that he's going to be on the sideline, which obviously is massively disappointing. So yeah, I think the game yesterday, like I said, it was a pretty shocking game of football when you think of it in terms of quality from both sides. Both sides didn't offer an awful lot, going forward, or an awful lot defensively. It was poor. Both teams on the ball were poor. Trying to create anything, we were poor. And it, like I said, it was just a poor game of football between two average sides, in my opinion. Spurs aren't nothing special. Spurs are nowhere near the team that we played at Goodison Park last season. Spurs aren't nowhere near the team that we seen in the Champions League final last season. They're nothing special whatsoever. They struggled massively yesterday, and we struggled. And for me, like I said in the instant match reaction coming out of that game yesterday, I see that as sort of a 2 points loss, because I see that again as another game at Goodison Park against an average side that we should have won and we haven't won at the end of the day. And like I said, the game obviously was massively overshadowed by, awful refereeing, which we'll talk about later, VAR as well, which just needs scrapping in my opinion, and obviously the shocking injury to Andre Gomes as well. But other than all of that, taking all of that away and just looking at the football that we've seen on show and from what we did see from Everton Football Club, and for me it still wasn't brilliant whatsoever. There was individual performances that I think were really, really good. Tom Davies I thought played well. Yerry Mina and Mason Holgate at centre half as well, I thought played really, really well. But in terms of creativity going forward, I think Alex Iwobi struggled for the pretty much the entire game. I think Theo Walcott struggled in the second half as well, and I also think Richarlison struggled. Granted, he should have had a penalty, but I think he struggled. And for me, that's a little bit worrying, because we can talk, a lot of people are going to talk about this game, and a lot of the comments and a lot of what we'll talk about today is going to be, the injury and refereeing and VAR and stuff. But for me, just, taking that away from it, because that is a massive talking point, but that's a talking point every single week. VAR, we'll sit here 90% of the time and talk about how shite VAR is. We'll sit here 90% of the time and talk about how awful the referees are. We'll sit here for the next few weeks and give updates on Andre Gomes and all send our best wishes over to him, because that's what, we will do, because it's in topic. And obviously the Andre Gomes thing, we want him to recover as soon as possible. And it's absolutely shocking to see. But taking all that away from it and putting all that to the side and actually analysing this as a game of football, which is what we'd have all done anyway if there was no injury and if there was no, absolutely shocking refereeing decisions or shocking VAR. And it's a little bit worrying that, we've gone out there, for me, and we've put out a starting 11 that a lot of people have been screaming for quite some time now. Certainly a formation that a lot of people have been screaming for. A front three that I don't think anyone can complain with. Obviously Theo Walker coming in after he'd impressed in midweek and after he'd impressed last week. Richarlison playing up top, which was something that a lot of people wanted. Alex Iwobi on the left, obviously with the with Bernard not being in there. A three in midfield rather than the number 10 role, which is something I've been wanting for quite some time. A midfield three of Davis, Gomez and Delph, and you look at the three of them and you think, yeah, they're going to be able to put in a really, really good performance. And then you look at the performance and you can't help but feel disappointed again, and you can't help but feel a little bit stuck at the minute with Everton, and you think, well, where are we going from here? Because we've tried various different formations now, we've tried various different sets of players, and we've only put in one good performance, I'd say, all season, and that was that performance against West Ham at Goodison Park. Other than that, I wouldn't say we've put in a decent performance all season, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And yesterday was just as worrying, because we went out there, we set out with a good formation, we set out with a good starting 11, but we still didn't appear to click. And one thing that I really, really picked up on, after the game, in the aftermath of the injury and stuff, was how together the team looked in terms of all the messages on social media. Every single Everton player sending their best wishes to Andre Gomes, and obviously that's going to happen, and that's lovely to see, and it's brilliant to see, and it's fantastic to see that togetherness in the team and that team spirit. But where's that on the pitch? Because for me, we just don't see enough of that on the pitch. We don't see enough of them playing for each other. We don't see enough of the togetherness. We don't see enough of the fight for each other. And we seen that when Cenk Tosun put the ball in the back of the net and they jumped in the crowd. And I've seen a couple of people on Twitter saying they should have picked the ball up and they should have rushed back and we should have went for the winner. And yet maybe we should have went for the winner, but given the situation, I can understand why the relief of getting that goal and understanding that we're pretty much secured a point out of that game now. After everything that had happened, after obviously the injury and after the fact that we're being shafted all game by the referee, I understand why there was that relief and that togetherness. But why can't we show that for the rest of the game? Why are the players walking around like they're not really together, or they're not really playing for each other, but then it's very, very clear off the pitch and in moments, certain moments on the pitch, that they are playing for each other? Why can't we show that for for the entirety of the game? Jonathan says, hello, good news in the injury. Yeah, like I said, it's the best news that could have come out of it, really, to be honest with you. Obviously, it's never going to be good. Nobody wants to see, the type of injury that we've seen. I've seen it all over the back paper of the Echo this morning. I think it's absolutely disgraceful that the Echo can print a picture of Andre Gomes screaming in pain, to be honest with you. In a very similar shot, you can see people in the front row of the family enclosure in tears, looking away because they can't see it. Fair enough, print a picture from afar of, the players huddling around them and make a story on the injury, but don't be printing pictures of the players screaming in pain. It's disrespectful for a start, and it's just shocking. So like I said, it's the best news that could have come out of it. Obviously fantastic to hear that the surgeries went as good as it can go, and that he's expected to make a full recovery over Hopefully it's just about time now, and it doesn't take an awful lot of time. Alex says, yes, Cam, yes, Alex, hope you're doing well. Chris says, hi, mate, speedy recovery to Gomez. Not nice seeing that happen to anyone. And Scrap VAR is run by a bunch of newborn babies crawling on all the buttons, annoying you. That's VAR for you. Exactly, mate. It's absolutely shocking, and you know, big thanks for your words on Gomez there. And Anders says, gutted for Gomez. VAR is a joke. Not sure how we will go on now in the centre of the park. Give Cenk a go. Now, I'd definitely be giving Cenk Tosun a go, 100%. In terms of obviously the middle of the park, listen, we're stuck. I think this was an injury we really didn't need, wasn't it, to be honest with you? Because now we've lost Andre Gomez, who I'd say is probably our most creative player, definitely our most creative midfielder. Obviously, we've lost Jean-Philippe Gbamin, who was the player that was going to come in to replace Adesanya. So when you look at it and you compare it to last season, effectively, we've lost both of our central midfielders, because our central midfielders last season were Gay and Gomez. We've lost Andre Gomez now for what I'd probably assume is, you know, the rest of this season. I'd definitely think it'd probably be the rest of this season, if not probably about this time next season. Again, I'm no expert, I'm no physio, I'm no medical member of the medical staff, so I really don't know. I'm not in a position to say, but from what I've seen yesterday, I dare say he won't be back for quite a long time. And obviously we've lost Jean-Philippe Gbamin as well, so you know we will probably revert back to that midfield too, and it will probably be Delph and Davis now. And I'm not particularly against that. I think John Davis played well yesterday, and I don't think Fabian Delph was particularly awful either. But, you know, it's massively disappointing when you look at some of the injuries we've had over the last few years, and I'm not just talking little knocks here and there and players being out for a couple of weeks or a couple of months here and there. We've had serious leg injuries to, you know, Seamus Coleman, James McCarthy, Brian Oviedo, obviously Andre Gomez now. It's becoming a serious worry. And again, you know, another one yesterday. Mr. Taylor Made says, relegation, here we come. I don't think we'll get relegated, but, you know, like I said, it's seriously worrying that behind all the injury stuff and behind all the drama with VAR and the referee, we still couldn't pick ourselves up and go and beat what for me is an average Tottenham team at Goodison Park. Hernandez says, hope all is well, Cam. I'm not doing too bad, mate. Hope you're doing well yourself. Craig Knight says, feel sick about Gomez. We've been unlucky a bit this season, but lose all draw against Southampton and Silver has to go, I'm afraid. 11 points from 11 is totally unacceptable. I do agree. Cole says, I agree about Cenk, but honestly, lad, do you think he was harsh on Son yesterday? Do you know, I just want to touch on this because, you know, a lot of people picked up on this in the instant match reaction, and if you follow us on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter personally, my personal account, you'll have seen that I went in a little bit on Son, and for me, I understand fully that Son wasn't Son didn't make the challenge that forced Andre Gomez's injury. It wasn't Son that clattered right into him, it was Sergio Aurier. But for me, I watched Son in that 30-second spell before he made that challenge, and he had the ball taken off him. And you know, 100% as a football fan, we've all been there, we've played football before. When a player is chasing another player out of frustration and out of pure emotion, you can tell when that is happening. Son had dived twice before in the game. He threw himself on the floor for absolutely nothing twice before in the game, and at this point he had the ball taken off him cleanly by Andre Gomez, and he got back up and he wanted to react. And for me, that was why I think Son should receive a 10-game ban for this, and I think it's absolutely disgraceful because he runs at him and he makes that challenge. Now granted, he doesn't want to break Andre Gomez's leg, or he doesn't want to fracture or dislocate his ankle. Of course he doesn't. No footballer goes into a challenge with the mindset of, I want to break this fella's ankle. I think Son's reaction comes from the fact that he's thinking, shit, I've done this much damage to a player when I could have just not reacted. I could have just got up, shook it off and gone again. It's a reaction based challenge, and for me that's why he deserves the ban that he's going to get. He flies in, there's pictures of him flying in 2-footed, looking like he means to make serious, a serious challenge into Andre Gomez. Obviously he doesn't mean to do what he done, but he has got no intent of winning the ball when he flies into that tackle. Yes, he's probably intent is to whip him up or put him on his arse or stop a counter, but his intent is still to put the player on his arse and not to make a clean challenge. And for me, in doing that, he has caused this situation. Now, Sergio Aurier shouldn't get away with it either because it's a disgraceful challenge from him, but I think it all stems from, Son trying to get revenge on Andre Gomez for what was a clean challenge. And for me, that was why I went in, harsh on him, and then that's why I still, think he should be banned for a substantial amount of time for what he has done. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the stream. Alex says, any idea how the injury is for? Again, I've not got an idea, mate. The club haven't said yet. I dare say that's something that we're going to find out in the next coming weeks and months. Probably find that out through Marco Silva in his pre-game press conferences when he's asked the direct question. If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, so far, please do hit the like button. 35 viewers currently, so big thanks to everybody for watching. Get your thoughts in the live comments as well, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Craig 90 says he's not getting the most of the players or motivating them enough. I do agree with that. Cole says VAR is utter shite. Agreed. David says around 9 months, Alex, that was never a fracture. I don't care what the club says. It did look a lot more serious than a fracture, I'll tell you that. Nick says, how many signs can you see us making in January, Cam? Not many, to be honest with you, mate. Marcel Brands doesn't favour the January transfer market, and obviously with the fact that, you know, players are going to cost an awful lot of money, teams are going to want an awful lot for certain players, I don't see us making a lot of changes. I'm just going to tweet today's team out as well before we go any further, so everybody on Twitter knows that we are live and that can come and watch us and get involved with the conversations as per usual. We did check out the instant match reaction yesterday. Big thanks for watching it. Steve Robo says, alright mate, alright Steve, I hope we're doing well. David says, one Nick, a manager. Chris says, are you disappointed you didn't win, especially with Tottenham down to 10 men and all will be? Yeah, I am disappointed. Not even, you know, talking about when they went down to 10 men and when Son was, you know, sent off. I'm disappointed that we didn't win the game anyway. I think Tottenham are an average footballing side this season, and I think Tottenham are a team that a lot of teams will beat at home. Tottenham are a team that won't pick many points up away from home this season because they're just not settled right at the minute and they're just not performing, and they didn't perform yesterday and we should have taken advantage of that. So yeah, I am disappointed. Dave says plus the ref and VAR, Chris. Nick says, so Gabam, Bernard and Gomez, who's next? Exactly. Craig says, at a time where the squad is getting them thin, the manager needs to get the most out of what he has. Also puzzled me in playing Richie up front, who ain't a striker. I've lost that comment, hang on. Who ain't a striker? Yeah, hadn't 3 natural strikers on the bench. Fair enough. Nick says, David Collins, I think a change of manager goes without saying. We definitely need to sign some new players in January, but how many? Who knows? David says, if we lose another midfielder, we're in big trouble. Get Ball, Kendall and Reed to dust themselves off. Edward says, do you think we'll win the Carabao Cup? It's far too early to say, mate, but we've got a tough team in the next round, obviously with Leicester. David says, sorry, gotta laugh or I'll cry because of this garbage. You know, same mate, I'm in the same boat. Colin says, we need to just give everything into the Carabao Cup, give us confidence and a bit of silverware. Will says, good for Gomez, the reaction of the play shows how bad the injury really is and he's going to be out for over a year. Silver out now, deluded manager, get him out. Toothy off Orifices says Sidibe has to start every week. Now I agree. Good Soul says absolutely good for Gomez, be a big loss. We seem to have no luck. We never have any luck, do we, mate? Spring Heat Jack says like to see Tosun and Big Dung up front, dogs of war. PG Danny says I hate Aurier and Son. Porcupines Max Stuff says Moise Keane needs more game time. He's on the list for the Golden Boy Award. He's one of the best youngsters in the world. I do agree with that one. Spring Healed says speedy recovery, Andy. Yeah, absolutely. DB says our team's reaction to the injury showed real class and togetherness, gives you a look into the model of the team. That could be a motivator. David says the tackle was from behind, both feet off the floor, instant red card. I agree, spot on, mate. Mr. Taylor Main says his foot got planted in the turf. Son will have his card rescinded. They can't appeal it. They can't appeal it. I believe the Premier League come out and made a statement pretty much straight after it saying he can't appeal it because it's a tackle from behind, and you know there is a moment where he's got both feet off the ground, so they can't appeal it. PG Danny says best of luck, Andre. He's broke his ankle. I've seen a pic. It's bad. It's a fractured dislocation, but it definitely looks sore. Cornwall Blue says, alright mate, how is it? I'm not doing too bad, mate. We're doing well. Now we're getting short on numbers. We need to pull together and need to fight for everything. Joseph spirit and togetherness. I agree, and maybe this will be an opportunity for us to pull together and show some fight and show some urgency in games because we've got no other choice now. It's not really a case of, well, can we show fight? Can we show urgency? Can we show we want to win? It's a case of, well, we have to now because we've got no other choice. Joseph, I think we deserve the win, especially at the end of the second half. We were a much better side. I agree. David says, I heard it break along with 38,000 other fans in the ground. Charlie Play says, Birmingham stroking. He was getting in this team. Good Soul says, been saying it since the start. I hate VAR. Whenever we score, I'm apprehensive about cheering, thinking it will be ruled out. It's taking away the spontaneousness of the game. I agree, spot on. We'll talk about VAR in a sec. Nick says, looks like we might need a centre-back, centre-mid and a striker in January loans, maybe. It looks like that. And Tuti says, do you think Sigurdsson should come in and replace Gomez and play in the midfield and leave Iwobi in the 10? I wouldn't mind seeing Sigurdsson in the Gomez role, to be honest with you. I think he could play that. And Jonathan says, we need to start winning now. We do. So anyway, yeah, like I said, listen, you know, I've seen a lot on social media as well about, you know, Son and about Seamus Coleman going over and you know, consulting him, and Cenk Tosun went over as well, and I believe some Everton players went into the dressing room of Spurs after the game and and you know, were talking to him and making sure that he was all right. I don't particularly have anything against other professionals going and checking on the state of, you know, other professionals, especially after that. You could very clearly see Son was distressed, and you know, he was very, very upset with that, but I've got no sympathy for Son whatsoever. He gets up, he knows exactly what he's doing, and yes, he doesn't mean to you know, do as much damage as he did, but he means to make that challenge, and he means to make that challenge with malice, and he means to hurt Andre Gomez, whether it's a a scrape, whether it's a kick or whether it's, a fracture of the ankle like we've seen, he makes that challenge with malice. So I've got absolutely no sympathy whatsoever. I don't think we should be getting on our own players' backs for, going in and seeing how he is and overall being professionals and being decent human beings. But I've just got absolutely no sympathy for him whatsoever, and I think he deserves the ban that comes his way, because he jumps up and he makes that challenge out of, frustration and out of emotion, and what's come of that is directly because he's made that challenge. Anyway, like I said, obviously, the Gomez situation is a massive situation in the game, and we were always going to spend a lot of time talking about it because it was the big talking point in what was overall quite a poor game. But obviously there was other talking points. Like I said, we wish Andre Gomez, our best wishes, and we hope for a speedy recovery for him. And it's just about watching this space now, and hopefully, he gets in rehabilitation quickly, and hopefully his recovery process is as successful as the surgery process was today as well. But anyway, listen. It was a poor game. It was a poor game overall. It was a poor game. I think both sides were pretty poor. I think both sides lacked a lot of creativity. I think both sides lacked a lot of awareness in the midfield. I don't think Everton created enough space, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I don't think Everton created enough opportunities for ourselves. Obviously, we scored in the dying seconds of the game, the 95th minute, equaliser by Cenk Tosun, which was a fantastic header, by the way. Tottenham only scored through a direct mistake from Alex Iwobi, and other than that there wasn't much else in the game, and that's what massively disappoints me about this, because when you look at the first half, you're going in at half time and you're thinking, well, okay, it's not the worst half of football, we're going in goalless against Tottenham Hotspur, a decent side with decent players, but could we be in a better position? Yeah, of course we could. We could be creating more opportunities. We could be playing with more of an attacking threat. We could be playing with more urgency. We could be playing with more pace in the midfield. And we just weren't. We were a little bit lackadaisical. There was a couple of silly defensive errors. And going forward, we weren't offering nothing. And I could see sitting in the park end at half time that Alex Iwobi and Theo Walcott weren't offering an awful lot in this game. They just weren't. Now, why that is, I don't know. But you can see in a team when certain players aren't, pulling the weight, and certain players aren't going to perform in a game. And for me, that was the time for Marco Silva to make a change. Said it in the instant match reaction yesterday. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin would have done fantastic if he'd have been given more time in this game, because what we massively lacked yesterday was a player that could hold the ball, get it down on his feet, take players on, use his strength and pass it off. There was too much of the ball coming to players and people falling over, and Richarlison done an awful lot, and this is why Richarlison for me doesn't get penalty or doesn't get decisions that go his way, because he spends a lot of time putting himself on the floor. Now don't get me wrong, I've seen the penalty situation with Richarlison yesterday, and I'm not talking about the handball. The handball's an absolute joke. It's a penalty by there's no reason, no way you could tell me that isn't a penalty. There's absolutely no way you can tell me that isn't a penalty. The reason that was reviewed for so long is because they were looking for a reason not to give it, and that's why the FA is corrupt, that's why FIFA is corrupt, and that's why VAR is corrupt. They looked at that decision for more than 2 minutes because they were looking for a reason not to give it. It was a blatant penalty. It was as clear as day. And I said this on Twitter yesterday. If that was any of the top 6 sides, if that was the Man United in the 70th minute of a game that Man United were losing, that would be given as a penalty. If it was Chelsea, it'd be given as a penalty. If it was Liverpool, it'd be given as a penalty. If it was Manchester City, it'd be given as a penalty. There's absolutely no way on this planet that is not a penalty. And that is proved by the fact that they took so long to check it and to convince themselves it wasn't a penalty. And Alan Pardew can get to fuck as well, saying he's protecting his head. It's a ball, Alan, you dozy bastard. It's a big fucking thing of air. What's it going to do if it hits you on the head? If that's against Everton, it's a penalty, so that's an absolute disgrace. But like I said, other than that, there wasn't an awful lot of creativity from either side. There definitely wasn't an awful lot of creativity from Everton. And that's what's the most disappointing for me, is because this is a game that you look at retrospectively and you think, you know what, Spurs aren't that good. Spurs aren't that great, and realistically, if we'd have put in a performance like we did against West Ham, we'd have beat them yesterday, and we'd have beat them comfortably, and we wouldn't be talking about how we still haven't gone out there and we still haven't won, because at the end of the day, taking away the injury, taking away the VAR stuff, we still haven't gone out and put in a decent performance. Now, yeah, the referee was against us for the whole game, and that was clear to see, but on the ball, we weren't good enough. There wasn't enough movement. There wasn't enough creativity going forward. We massively missed Bernard, and we massively missed, somebody with the strength of Dominic Calvert-Lewin in that game. I actually think Moise Keane would have done well as well. Now, obviously there's some Moise Kean hasn't had an awful lot of opportunities this season, and arguably he hasn't impressed when he's had those opportunities either. But I think Moise Kean would have done fantastically in this game, because I think he'd have actually ran at Tottenham's defence, and he'd have given them something to be scared of. He'd have given them something to be worried about, because their defence is a shambles. Their defence is an absolute shambles, and what he would have done is he would have shocked them. He would have given them something to be worried about, he would have given them something to be scared about, and he would have massively sent them into shock. But for Marco Silva to persist with the same front three that very, very clearly weren't working until the last 20 minutes of a game that we're getting beat in is worrying for me, and it's worrying that we still didn't go out there and go for the win against the side that we aren't really that good. And that is the underlying thing for me. Obviously, this game will be shadowed by the VAR and the injury, but the underlying thing is that it's another game at home that we haven't managed to pick 3 points up in against another average side for me this season, and that's massively worrying, and it's very, very hard to ignore that fact, especially considering the pressure that Marco Silva's under at the minute. If you're enjoying the team, by the way, please do hit the like button if you are enjoying, and if you're new to the channel as well, please do subscribe. PG Dan says this might be a career ender, he might not be back in the side. It's going to take him a lot of time to regain fitness, that's for sure, and obviously to get over the injury. Cole says, it's so sad to think at the beginning of the season we was all saying that we're going to finish in Europe and even challenge Champions League, and now we're fighting relegation, not the Everton I love. You could say that, but we're still 6 points away from fighting for the European place as well, so it's very, very tight, this league this season, and that's, that is mainly because the teams in it at the minute are really shite. Arsenal is shit, Tottenham is shit, United is shit as well. So there's not an awful lot in it, but you are right. We are in a worrying position at the minute, and we need to start picking up points. And for me, next week is a massive game against Southampton, and it's a must win. It's a 3 points or nothing next week. It really, really is. Good Soul says, can't believe Sanchez didn't get sent off at the end. That foul was blatant, utterly shocking decision. Exactly. Mr. Taylor says, let's hope Jose will be unveiled during the international break. I highly doubt that, mate. I highly doubt that. Dave says, spot on, Cold. Craig says, money has ruined football, and as it's made it more corrupt than it is. My dad made a really, really good point today in work. We were talking about this, and he said, anything where a massive amount of money is involved, corruption is also involved. Money brings corruption. Corruption brings money. And that's the world, mate. That's the world that we've been living in for hundreds and hundreds of years. Any situation where there's an awful lot of money involved, there's an awful lot of corruption as well. And football and the Premier League and the FA and FIFA and this football in this country is no different. It's no different, and I'm not going to be convinced otherwise. Mr. Taylor says, Coleman tackle was worse a few weeks ago. Should he get 10 games? I don't think it was, but personally. Jonathan says, how long will Gomez be out for? We don't know yet. Gaming Killer says, we need Bernard back ASAP. Cole says, David, those Evertonians have been promised year in, year out better results, and they simply just get worse and worse. Craig says, no Craig, refs, VAR, screw them all, crap public transport and stupid kick-off times have ruined football, as well as money. PG Danny says, this is the time I still wish we had Guy to replace Gomez. If only, I think we all wish we still had Guy. David says, I know, Cold, I am one, mate. We have a good squad with no luck and a manager that can't motivate players or fans. Fair enough. Teddy says, yeah, I agree, start Tosun against Southampton. I agree 100%. We'll talk about that in a second. Cold says, just have to keep hope. Cornwall Blue says, I agree, totally, mate. Defo pen. Love you all, honestly. Say it how it is. Corrupt. Yeah, spot on, mate, spot on. You got to say it how it is, haven't you? David says, oh, Craig, I hope you didn't kiss your mother with that mouth. Craig says, I thought the AR was brought in to make decisions like that, given effing biased C20 officials these days. Exactly. David says, everything is shit. What does that say about us? Fair enough. Ruben says, thought we were all crap all game except the last 10 minutes when we showed fight. I agree, spot on. And David says, no corruption in Africa, Cam, check their water supplies. I'm not going to go into talking about that, mate. But anyway, yeah, like I said, we lacked creativity, and obviously their goal come from, a massive mistake from Everton. And it's all good to say that, we were the better team, or that we come together in the last 10 minutes, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't have been 1-0 up if it wasn't for such a silly mistake. And I don't want to go too far into Alex Iwobi here, because I think he's done okay this season. I think he's played well when he's played, and I think he's been able to adapt to the positions that he's had to play in, but he made a colossal mistake yesterday. He really, really did. It's a shocking back pass, it's a shocking mistake, it's a through ball, Tottenham get on the end of it, the defence are caught back-footed because they didn't expect it, Dele Alli gets it, and Dele Alli slots, and all of a sudden it's 1-0, and again, it's not 1-0 in a game that you think, well, Everton have dominated and we should get back into this game. It's not 1-0 in a game that you think, well, we've been battered so you could see it coming. It's 1-0 in a game that you've gone, Well, we're not going to get back into this because, records and history prove that Marco Silva's Everton teams don't get back into games after going 1-0 down. So now we've lost another game of football, at least what it felt like we lost another game of football, against the team that really aren't that great. Obviously, the second half, where obviously the second half went on, we had the injury, we had the consistent, shocking refereeing, and then we equalised in the last dying seconds of the game, and Cenk Tosun's come on for me there, and he's not only has he put the ball in the back of the net, it's an absolutely fantastic header. The whole bit of play surrounding the goal was fantastic. The ball from Yerry Mina is absolutely exquisite. For me, Yerry Mina was the best player on the pitch again yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. Such a colossal centre half, such a fantastic footballer, and he's been our most important and best player this season. Mason Holgate as well was fantastic. All game, really, really strong, provided good cover with Yerry Mina, and I think Tom Davies was another contender for man of the match. Yerry Mina plays a fantastic ball over. It's an exquisite first-time cross from Luca Dean. I actually don't think Luca Dean had his best game yesterday, but that cross is absolutely exquisite. It goes in, and the sign of a really good natural striker is that he wants to get on the end of that, and both Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Andre Gomez get on the end of that. Now, I'd struggle to see if Richarlison was anywhere near it. I don't know whether Moise Keane had been anywhere near it as well, if he'd have been on the pitch, but doesn't matter. Both Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Cenk Tosun go for it. It's a bullet header by Cenk Tosun, and he celebrates, and you can see exactly what that means to Cenk Tosun, and you can see exactly what it means to play for Everton for Cenk Tosun. Cenk Tosun's a player that is being frozen out by Marco Silva. Let's have it right now, whether that's for right or wrong reasons, he's being frozen out. He's not being involved in the squads. He's not being involved in the starting 11, and Marco Silva will tell us that's because he doesn't fit into the system, or he doesn't quite work, and that's fair enough. If a player doesn't fit into the system, that's fair enough, and I think we're all under the impression that Cenk Tosun will probably not be an Everton player come next summer. He mightn't even be an Everton player come this January, but one thing Cenk Tosun never does is sulks. He never, screams about us in the media. He just gets his head down, he works hard, and every time he's asked about his future, every time he's asked about how happy he is or whether he wants to leave, he always says, I'm at Everton Football Club and I'm going to work my absolute arse off for these fans and and this team that have showed me the obviously the respect that they did when they come in. And that is why Cenk Tosun is such a fantastic fella, and that's why he's such a fantastic professional as well, and he deserved that goal more than anything. He really, really did deserve that goal more than anything, and you could see how much it meant to him. You could see how he was when Andre Gomez went down injured. He was lifting his head, he was talking to him. He was the only one there with Luca Dean who was talking to Andre Gomez instantly and making sure he was okay, and you could see exactly what it meant to Cenk Tosun to put the ball in the back of the net there. A player that doesn't sulk, gets his head down, does what he needs to do, does what he's asked to do, goes out there and tries his hardest week in, week out. He mightn't be the fastest footballer, he mightn't be the best striker of the ball, he mightn't be a clinical number 9 that we all know we need, but he gives his absolute all for this football club. And for me, a goal and an assist in a week deserves an opportunity. Cenk Tosun deserves to be in that starting 11 come next Saturday against Southampton, because at the end of the day, Richarlison's had a couple of games up front now, hasn't scored, hasn't particularly impressed overly. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's had, I think a decent run, and yes, he's impressed, and yes, in times, obviously, he's put the ball in the back of the net, and I actually think Dom's had a decent start to the season. Moise Keane hasn't impressed when he's been on there, but obviously he needs game time as well. But for me, Cenk Tosun coming in and providing a really good assist and a really good finish in the matter of a week, he deserves his opportunity now in that starting 11. He gets his head down, he works his arse off, and he's doing what he's asked to do, and he's come on and he's saved us a point there. He really, really has saved us a point, because at the end of the day, we'd have lost that game yesterday and would have been coming home, and yes, it was a dark game of football, yes, it was a horrible game of football, and yes, it was gloom anyway because of the injury and because of how blatantly biased the referee was, but would have been coming home going, adding to all of that, we've been beaten in another game as well. Whereas now, because of Cenk Tosun, he's got the header in and he's put the ball in the back of the net. It's a fantastic finish, and for me, he deserves his opportunity now. He really, really does. But we're being bailed out there by a really good header by Cenk Tosun and a really good bit of play in the last 10 minutes by Everton, and we're being bailed out by the togetherness and the fight that we want to see from Everton Football Club from the start of games. I don't want to see that in the last 10 minutes of games. I don't want to see the team coming together. I don't want to see the team fighting and playing for each other in the last 5 or 10 minutes because one of their fellow teammates has had to go off with that horrific injury. I want to see that type of fight. I want to see that togetherness from minute one when there's been no injuries and there's no excuse to have to do it. They should be wanting to do that, and they should be needing to do that from minute one with no injuries. Not, Andre Gomez has gone off, so let's go and put 110% in for Andre. Yeah, that's all well and good, but you should be putting 110% in anyway without Andre Gomez having to go off, without Andre Gomez having to be injured. But having said that, obviously we got the goal and we ended up taking a point at the end of the day, which, given the circumstance, I suppose you'd take, considering it was a last-minute equaliser, really. Yeah, I agree with everybody. We should have gone on and we should have been a little bit more forceful and, we should have won the game. Let's be honest, we should have won the game. I'm disappointed that we didn't come away from that game with 3 points. However, considering where we were in the last 10 minutes of the game, I'm happy, obviously, that we've come away with a point. The game was massively ran by Martin Atkinson and massively ran by Anthony Taylor, who was the VAR. Martin Atkinson should never referee another Premier League game of football. Again, he is an absolute disgrace of a referee. He's a disgrace of a man and he shouldn't be anywhere near Premier League football. But guess what? He's been appointed another game at the weekend in the Newcastle game. I seriously, I don't understand how anybody can sit here and tell me that the FA aren't corrupt, that FIFA aren't corrupt, and that football isn't just a massive ball of corruption, because it blatantly is. I said this in the instant match reaction yesterday. I watch Everton Football Club because I absolutely love Everton. I am obsessed with this football club. It's tattooed on my body. I've been an Evertonian since I was born. I've been going the game since I could, before I could speak. I will go and watch Everton Football Club until the day that I die. I will travel to the end of the fucking world to see those 11 players put on that royal blue shirt and go out there and put a performance in for this badge. I will. But I have got no ties to the sport of football whatsoever. I'm not interested in watching Champions League games. Why do I want to watch another Premier League game between Aston Villa and Bournemouth when I'm going to spend 5 minutes of it looking at a screen saying check and penalty, to then see it was the most blatant penalty on the planet and it wasn't given? Why am I interested in that? I ain't wasting my time with all of that shit. I'm not interested in the Champions League. I'm not interested in other Premier League football. I'm an Evertonian and I'll watch Everton till the day that I die. And I said today, I know it's totally unrealistic and I know it's a relevant point and I know it's a load of shit, but if it was possible and Everton packed up their bags today and went, you know what, fuck this, we're going to make a basketball team, and all of those 11 players that play footy went, you know what, I actually quite fancy basketball, to be honest, let's turn this into a basketball club, I'd quite happily never watch a game of football again. Because I think the sport is just on its arse at the minute. It really, really is on its arse. VAR has ruined it, massively ruined it. And it's not VAR, let's have it right. It's not the video assistants, it's not the video screens, it's not the replays, it's the dickheads that are sitting behind the screen, and it's the dickhead with the whistle on the pitch. Martin Atkinson is about 350 years old. How the FA think that man can keep up with 25-year-old athletes is absolutely beyond me. He has a very, very clear bias against teams that are in the top 6. It's been proven before. Ex-referees have come out and said that the FA, edged them to give, more decisions to the teams in the top 6 because that's how they create the narrative for the likes of Sky and that's how they create the narrative for the Premier League. At the end of the day, Martin Atkinson is an absolute joke. He is an absolute joke, and as are every single other official that had any involvement in that game yesterday. Anthony Taylor is an absolute joke, and like I said about the 2 specific situations that I'm looking, we should have had 2 very, very clear penalties yesterday. The handball one, if you're genuinely sitting there and you've seen that handball decision and you're looking at it going no penalty and you think that that's anything other than bias, then I just don't understand. It's very clear a bias against Everton, and it's very clear a bias towards the bigger teams, aka the likes of Tottenham, who are in that bracket of the bigger teams. They have spent 2.5 minutes looking at a player who's jumped with his hand in the air. You do not jump with your hand in the air, that I. All of these dickhead pundits, all of these dickhead ex-referees saying he's protecting his face or it was an accident. Well, what about Michael Keane's one the other week when he literally accidentally stands, minimum stands on a player's foot. He's not even looking at the player, he's looking at the ball, minimum stands on it, he throws himself on the ball and it's a penalty. Hang on, the commentator in that game was saying it doesn't matter if it's an accident, he made contact, it's a penalty. So now all of a sudden, because it's Everton, oh, it's an accident, so it doesn't count. It's absolutely load of shit. They were checking that penalty for that long because they were looking for a reason not to give it, and it's absolutely, it very clearly shows the corruption in this league as to how that was not given a penalty, because there's absolutely no way on God's earth, if that was against Spurs, if that was against United, if that was against City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, that's given a penalty 100%, and you can't tell me otherwise. That is given a penalty. It's an absolute joke. It really, really is an absolute joke. And not only that one, that was the biggest one that everybody highlighted. Everybody went, well, yeah, that's blatantly a penalty. What the fuck's going on there? Richarlison gets knocked over in the box. He takes it past Davinson Sanchez. Davinson Sanchez puts his foot out and Richarlison goes over. It's a penalty. Sanchez gets nowhere near the ball. I think it's Sanchez anyway. It might be Aurier. Sanchez gets nowhere near the ball and Richarlison goes over. So why ain't that a penalty, eh? Why isn't that a penalty? Why? Because it didn't even go to VAR. The chance didn't even fucking go to VAR. But earlier on in the game, Heung-min Son froze himself. And this is why I've got no sympathy for Heung-min Son. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's a dickhead. He's an absolute dickhead. And he deserves the 10-game ban that comes his way. Heung-min Son froze himself on the floor. It was the worst dive I've seen in my fucking life. It was worse than Morten Gamst Pedersen years ago. Froze himself on the floor. Absolute. Yerry Mina is lying directly next to him. Heung-min Son throws himself on the floor and they spend 2.5 minutes reviewing whether it's a penalty. Not only that, it comes up on the screen, no penalty, and then he goes back to check again. Even after it's come up, no penalty, he goes back and checks again whether it's a penalty. But when Richarlison gets very clearly toppled over in the box, after taking the ball through a player, getting put on his arse, not even reviewed, not even looked at, because it's Everton and because we're not favoured in the FA's books. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Martin Atkinson shouldn't be allowed to referee another game again. He'll referee next week, of course he will. But the FA is corrupt. FIFA is corrupt. And you cannot tell me otherwise. That referee yesterday was an absolute joke, an absolute embarrassment. He was an embarrassment. The VAR was an embarrassment, and for me, scrap it now. Scrap it because they don't know how to use it. They're not using it right, and it hasn't been implemented right. So scrap it. Get rid of it. Absolutely get rid of it because it's a waste of time. It's an absolute waste of time. Ta-ra, mate. See you later. Sack it off because at the end of the day, if you're bringing VAR in to, make the game fairer and make decisions more clear, then how can you still have a very clear decision like that and still fuck it up? Fuck it off. Get rid of it. It's not working. Get rid of it. Doesn't work in this league because the officials are inept. For me, I'd sack VAR off and I'd ship all the officials off and I'd bring in officials from different countries. I'd bring in officials that have got no ties to any football club. These officials in this country are very clearly fans of certain football clubs. You can try and tell me that Martin Atkinson's a Stockport United fan or that Anthony Taylor supports Bury. Fucking shouldn't have said that. Bury have gone that. I didn't mean that. Martin or Anthony Taylor supports Bolton. It's a load of shit. It's an absolute load of shit. They support United, they support Chelsea, they support Arsenal, they support the big clubs. And this is why we're seeing situations like this week in, week out. It's an absolutely disgraceful refereeing performance yesterday, and I don't want to see Martin Atkinson at Goodison Park again. And you know what? We're too soft as well. We're too soft as a football club, because for me, Marco Silva should have come out after that game and went, I never want to see him refereeing a game at Goodison Park again. Because Sir Alex Ferguson done it for Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson come out, I can't remember which referee it was, but Sir Alex Ferguson come out after one of the games and said, I don't want that referee anywhere near Manchester United games ever again. And he didn't referee Manchester United for 9 years until Alex Ferguson left. Why can't Marco Silva come out and do that? Take the fine, accept the fine. I'm sure someone within the club, I'm sure Farhad Mashiri go, you know what? We'll pay that fine for you. We'll give you a little bit of that. Don't worry about that. We'll pay that fine. Why can't Marco Silva come out and go, yeah, you know what? We could have been better today, but that referee is an absolute disgrace. He's an absolute joke because the referees are clouded, and this is why they make these same mistakes week in, week out, because nobody is allowed to say boo to a goose. Nobody is allowed to criticise them. Nobody is allowed to say anything to them. Well, this is what fans are for, and this is what we're here to do, and I'll say it now. So if anybody from the FA is watching, which you're not, and if Martin Atkinson is watching, you're a twat for starters. You shouldn't be refereeing Premier League games ever because you cannot do it. You simply cannot do it. And it makes no help that managers, that players cannot come out and say anything, because I guarantee every single Everton player yesterday was thinking exactly what we're thinking. They were all sitting there in the changing room and they were all going, what a disgraceful referee that was. Marco Silva was thinking the exact same thing, what a disgraceful referee that was. But nobody can come out and say anything because we're scared about what the referees might say or what the FA might say. No, take the fine and move on. I'd quite happily come out if I was Marco Silva and say he shouldn't referee another Premier League game again. He is a joke, and I'd take the fine and I'd move on. But anyway, listen, other than obviously the blatant refereeing and cheating and the blatant VAR shite, we just weren't good enough yesterday. We really weren't good enough, and we needed to do a lot better. We did need to do a lot better. But there is positives to come out of the game. Obviously, the biggest positive to come out of today is that Anze Gomez's surgery was successful, and is that Anze Gomez is on course to make a speedy recovery, and that he's on course to make a full recovery as well. The good news that come out of yesterday was that Cenk Tosun managed to get himself a goal, and you could see exactly what that meant to the lad, and hopefully he gets his deserved opportunity now. But at the end of the day, what can you do? It was a shocking game of football, and it was a really dark game of football, to be honest with you. And for me, I just wish we never played it. Let's get back into the live comments anyway. I've missed a load of stuff, so let's get back into the live comments. If you're enjoying the team so far, please hit the like button. By the way, nearly 50 viewers in the stream, so please do hit the like button. If you're new to the channel as well, please do subscribe and get your thoughts in the live comments, and we'll be talking about them as we speak. Lewis says, it won't be sensible, just don't play him. Fair enough. And Anders says, how long does Walker keep starting, even though he's first sub every match and then Richie moves there? Start Cenk up top and just play Richie on the right. I'd like to see that next weekend. Ruben says, I think it's been missed that when Ali scores, Holgate's not even trying to block the shot. I missed that, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. If he didn't, then there's no excuse as to why he's not blocked the shot. But again, for me, you shouldn't be moving out of the way of any shot. David says, if it will be Central, we only have Richie to the left. One of them will get injured with our luck. That is our luck. Wayne says, yes, Cam, had a class weekend. Got to see my niece and nephew smash the bookies for £11,500. Bloody hell, mate. So I'm going to start going to the games now again. Gutted for Gomez. Tom Davis going to have to step up now. Spot on, mate. Congratulations on winning all that money, but spot on. Actually walked past Tom Davis in town today. What a fella that is. What an absolute belter. What a guy he is. Not only because he's a boss footballer, but he's just a boss human being, isn't he? But yeah, you're spot on. He does need to step up now. He's got big boots to fill. David says, that's because Holgate was ordering his fish and chips, Ruben. Ruben says, anyone know how long Bernard's out for? We don't yet. And Ruben says, I agree, David. David says, can I borrow a tenner, Wayne? David also says, Bernard and Gabon won't be back until January earliest. It's looking like that. Matt says, hopefully Gomez's injury will galvanise the squad and the club and make the players up their game. Time to take a positive from an awful situation that most of you seem to be brought together. Very good point. David says, don't slate Martin Atkinson, Cam. He only earns 140 grand a year plus expenses and he has to run 10k a week. The poor soul. Exactly. Matt says, spot on about that Bellane ref cam. Exactly, mate. Ryan says, VAR is the Premier League's tool to keep the teams out of the Sky Big Six. Exactly. It's literally a way of manipulating it. I don't see how any football fan doesn't realise that. What we're seeing now, instead of referees manipulating it and people going, hang on, he's manipulating the game, we're just seeing referees manipulating it now and people are going, well, has he manipulated it or is it just his decision? No, that's a complete manipulation of a game of football yesterday. There's no way on any alternate universe that is not a penalty, that handball. It's an absolute disgrace. Dosbig says, can't the club appeal? That at least we never get this Atkinson referee again. Referee a game for us again in the touch referee. We can appeal, mate, but we won't, because then we'll get in trouble with the FA. Then we'll get in trouble with the we'll get a fine, and the club just want an easy life, don't they, at the minute, and that's the corruption around football. You cannot say anything to these people that are making shocking decisions. Ruben says self. David says Saints and Norwich are must wins or we dropped into the shit, Wayne. I agree, spot on. Jay says, why didn't Liverpool get a pen for handball and Mane got booked for diving when you see him kick him, but the FA want Liverpool to win? I haven't mentioned the FA want Liverpool to win. I've said the FA very clearly favour the top six, and they do. It's a fact, mate. And I can't speak on behalf of that because I didn't watch the Liverpool game. I don't watch Liverpool. I don't watch football. Like I said, I've got no interest in football. I've got interest in Everton Football Club, and I love Everton Football Club, and I'll watch them every single time they kick a ball. But any other football, I've got no interest in watching. David says, apart from Chris, who watches Liverpool, Dosbick says, it's absolutely ridiculous that they need 3 to 4 minutes to take a decision with VAR. It took them another year to prepare for VAR compared to other leagues, and their officials are still useless. VAR works in the German league, it works in rugby, it works. It just doesn't work in this league because the referees and the officials are inept and they don't know what they're doing. And for me, as soon as we seen that handball penalty decision take as long as it did, you automatically knew they were looking for a reason not to give it, and that's exactly what it was. Mike says, we are having a crap time with injuries. Also, VAR decisions seem to be going against us. Spot on, I agree. The Toffee Up says, the FA want Liverpool to win by giving them 100 effing minutes extra time for no reason. I says, Tosun isn't great, but he's experienced and still waiting to improve. He's dedicated to the club. Give him a start in 3 or 4 games. All the strikers like Vardy and Obama are doing well for their clubs. I agree with that, spot on. Jay says, not like Aston Villa were wasting time all game. You had 12 minutes added on yesterday. Yeah, we had 12 minutes added on and it still wasn't enough. We had 12 minutes added on in a game that Andre Gomez was down for about 15 minutes. We had 3 substitutions, we had a goal. 12 minutes still wasn't enough time added on. Jonathan says, geez, talk shit. Jay says, where are we? I'm annoying for defending my team. No, you can always defend your team. Hang on, where are we? I've gone through it. Toffee upstairs because of a serious injury and 2 long VAR checks. Actually says ban this Jay guy. He's giving an opinion. If it gets too bad, I'm not going to ban him for giving an opinion. Football fan says, would you have taken a point at the start of a game? Not considering how poor Tottenham are, no. But I suppose you'd have to take it at the end of it when you consider where we were in the final 10 minutes. Craig says, new show on tonight about origami. I heard it's pay-per-view. What a belt. That's what I like to see. A little bit of positivity. Something funny to lift the spirits. What a belter joke. I'm going to go and tell that one to my man and dad in a minute. Listen, let's not get too involved in the Everton Liverpool stuff. We're not here to talk about Liverpool. They're an irrelevancy, aren't they? Let's be honest. Toffee Hub says, listen, for the bigger teams, they've been given 100 extra minutes to time to score a goal. Ruben says, Jay doesn't even go. The game, he might do, we don't know. Alex says, do you know how long the injury is for? We don't yet. David says, no, Jay, defend your team if somebody attacks it, but nobody is so piped down instead of trying to irritate. Fair point. Wade says, I think it's the biggest game of the season Saturdays. We need a way to get away from the bottom three sooner. We've got to go back in for the goals scoring centre mid in January. Yeah, and it's a game against an average side. In fact, not even an average side, a poor side that we should be winning. No excuse to not win this game on Saturday, and it'll be a good start for us to gain some momentum, get an away win, which we desperately need, and obviously and to build on that and get ourselves further away from that relegation zone. Toffee Top says, I agree, that's the fine. A 20 goal a season striker now costs 100 million, that's 5 million per goal. That's the 16k fine, and count it as money as well spent. Alex says, it's not Holgate didn't try and block it, he got turned and didn't want to give a pen away, so didn't try and turn with him, which, you know, is exactly, you know, you can understand that, can't you? Dave says, nope, Jay, I heard that Firmino needs to Tim Hazard, but I'm not going to get involved with the Liverpool comments. There's no need for it. Ruben says VAR's obviously trying to help, but it's the knobs taking 3 or 4 minutes to make a decision. That doesn't give the time it takes VAR to make a decision. The ref should see it how it is for himself. Actually says VAR check red card for Jay. David says, my dad, brother and kids are Reds, Jay. I can't escape the constant pain in my arse. And Tony says, VAR World Cup was perfect. VAR EPL is garbage. The difference, the referees. The difference is exactly the referees. The people watching it don't know what they're doing. And there's a very, very clear reason as to why we don't see the replays on the screens in the ground. We don't see it as fans, because I watched that replay of that handball penalty once. It took me 2 seconds to go, that's a penalty. He handballs it. The rules state that any handball in the box, whether it be deliberate or not, is a penalty. That's a penalty. The reason they don't show it on the screens in the ground is because every other fan watching that would be able to go, that's a penalty, end of. And the referees want to manipulate it to find some way as to not give the penalty. And that's exactly what they done yesterday. So that it's only when we get home from the game that we're looking at it and going, how's he not giving that? And by that point, no one said anything to the referee. He's halfway home and he's got away with it once again. Yeah, listen, let's not get involved in the you know, the Liverpool stuff, and I understand that obviously Jay might be in here trying to wind a few people up. You know, he says he made one comment about Liverpool. I'm trying to debate reasonable people. Exactly. Let's not, you know, no need to get personal, no need to go any further in. You know, we've had a shocking day yesterday in terms of Everton, in terms of obviously what's happened with Andre Gomez. There's no need for anything to get personal. We're all here for debates, obviously. Yeah, so anyway, let's just end the Liverpool conversation there. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's team. Listen, it was a poor game of football. Even being honest with you, Everton were poor, taking away the injury, taking away the shocking referee and taking away the VAR. Everton were poor, and we should have done a lot better considering the, you know, the circumstances that Tottenham were in and Tottenham are in. But obviously there was bigger things that overshadowed the result yesterday, and all we can hope now is that Andre Gomez has a speedy recovery, that his rehabilitation goes well, and obviously that, you know, he continues to grow, and obviously hopefully his recovery doesn't take an awful lot of time. And listen, yeah, Son should get the retrospective action that he deserves, and for me that's a 10-game ban minimum, and Serge Aurier should also get retrospective action as well for that challenge, because they were both disgraceful in that situation for me. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. You know, I had nearly 50 odd people in the stream today, so big thanks to everybody for that. If you enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel as well, please do subscribe. It only takes a second. Get the video, get the stream shared to all your family, all your friends as well, and let's get everybody involved in the conversation, because listen, it wasn't a great game of football yesterday. We were poor at times, but at the end of the day, it's overshadowed by what was a shocking challenge and what was a horrific injury for Andre Gomez. And I think the most important thing is now is Andre getting back to fitness and us going to Southampton and getting the 3 points on Saturday, because nothing less is acceptable for me. Nothing less is acceptable. Anyway, big thanks to everybody for watching. If you're watching as a YouTube video, please do leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll be trying to reply to as many of them as possible. Please do hit the like button if you have enjoyed as well, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Matt says, watch your line with Silva. If we don't win the next two, would you bin him off? I would, yeah. I think if we don't win the next two, he's shown that he can't rally this team together. David says, Alex is a little aggressive, Jay. No doubt, Matt. Dosbick says, how does Martin Atkinson sleep peacefully? I don't know. Jay says, I agree to the rest of the disgrace against Everton. I was just saying they were against Liverpool too. And, listen, the offside against Firmino was a joke. I'll agree with that one. It was a joke. So, Jay, fair enough. Ruben says, will we sign anyone in January? I don't know, hopefully. Joe says, only just tuned in, loving the content, can't keep it up. Thank you very much, Joe, really do appreciate that. Jay says, because Martin Atkinson was the VAR ref for the Villa game, he is shocking, he's a joke. He's an absolute joke. David says, agreed, Jay, shocking call. Wayne says, enjoy the fireworks, people, thank you very much, you too. Wayne, Good Soul says, bad day yesterday, good to see him again, Cam. Today, Cam, thank you very much, Good Soul, really do appreciate that. David says, talk shit on Wednesday, Cam. Jay says Gomez will be back better, hopefully, mate, hopefully so. And Joe says, come on you Blues. Yeah, come on you Blues, definitely. If we can try and get the stream to 30 likes before we go, that'd be a massive amount to me. A big thanks to everybody for watching. Like I said, please do join us again on Wednesday for another live stream. We'll be back live at about 5:30, 5:45, discussing more Everton news. I dare say we'll be discussing Andre Gomez a little bit more as well as other injuries within the football club. Anyway, big thanks to everybody for watching. Please do hit the like button if you have enjoyed. Axe Music says, get well soon, Andre. Yeah, at the end of the day, listen, we can all moan about the game, we can all moan about Martin Atkinson, we can all moan about VAR, but I think we should all end the stream on one positive note, and that, well, it's not positive, but one nice note, and that is, I think I speak on behalf of everybody in the live comments now, and I speak on behalf of every Evertonian, is that we all wish Andre Gomez the best wishes in getting well, obviously getting over this injury and coming out the other side of it. We all hope he comes out, as a better player, and obviously as a better person, for it. It's an absolutely shocking injury. It's a horrible thing to witness, and it's a horrible thing to have seen yesterday. So we all wish him the best wishes, obviously, going forward with the rehabilitation, and we'll all be here for him. And he's already received an awful lot of support from Evertonians, and he will continue to receive an awful lot of support as well. So hopefully it doesn't take him long to get over it and start the rehabilitation process, and hopefully we see him back in an Everton shirt as soon as possible. So get well soon, Andre, and yeah, we're all here to support you. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Please do hit the like button if you have enjoyed this stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. I'll see you on Wednesday for another live stream. Thank you very much for watching. And then says, grab some water, mate. Lol, throws his die after super passionate rant about VAR. Exactly. Wayne says, see you, Wayne. Stop deleting your comments, you muppet. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.